Parag Abalnerkar, an avid student of history, culture and civilization. We started the first edition, the 2024 edition of Dharma Conversations through the first episode that we did in the recent past, where we spoke to Sandeep Balakrishna, who is widely regarded as an authority on history, culture and civilization. We dwelled on the separatist tendencies that were exhibited in this part of India over the recent past, and Sandeep explained in detail how its roots go back a long way, its manifestations over the years, and that we haven't seen the last of it. Unfortunately, a lot of the roots led back to the Congress party. So in this episode, the second episode of Dharma Conversations for this year, we shall be talking to Sandeep Balakrishna on the origins of Congress, its character and dimensions that have taken shape over the years, its impact on India, and also talk about the current family-owned enterprise avatar that we see of the Congress. With that, let's start with Sandeep Balakrishna for the second episode. Hi Sandeep, it's a pleasure to be talking to you again. So like I said, the last episode did lead to the Congress on multiple occasions. So let's spend the time this time on how Congress evolved over the years, what was the impact each decade on the Indian polity, and also the current avatar of Congress that we see from where it started post-independence. So I'd like to begin by talking to you about the epochal moment that we all witnessed on January 22nd, the Pran Pratishtha ceremony at Ayodhya. It was a dream come true after 500 years of struggle for a faith of billion who patiently waited and took the legal route. But unfortunately, when the Congress Suprema was invited and their current president, both of them declined the invitation. How do you see this? Is this, while there was a political motive or otherwise can be debated, but declining to participate in a once-in-a-lifetime event, does it reflect again on something in their past and in the making?
Hi, Parag, thanks. Good to be back with you again. How does one answer this? First of all, you said it was a dream come true. Sri Rama's grand Pran Pratisthapana that happened in Ayodhya. That was not merely a dream, it was the penance of several generations, scores of generations of an entire people spread over, say, 500 years. There is no parallel to this struggle in entire human civilization, in entire human history. Show me any culture, any population in any country since the dawn of human civilization that has kept the memory alive of the destruction of, the sacred Sri Rama Temple in Ayodhya, not only for so long, but has actually triumphed in it. Show me one destroyed monument in any country and people have gotten together, kept that memory alive and rebuilt it.
There is none.
This is unparalleled. You won't find a single example like this, like I said. As far as the Congress party and its Supremo declining to attend such a sacred event, which it should have stood at the forefront, ideally, the Congress after independence should have ensured that this temple would have been rebuilt. What does it show again? The trajectory leads back, like you put it in your intro, that all roads lead back to Nawab Nehru. This is one family which was the greatest obstacle, that prevented the rebuilding and the reconsecration of the Sri Rama Temple. This one family, one dynasty was responsible, was the greatest, roadblock. So the fact that, this reminds me once again of a similar event that happened in 1950-51. This is the rebuilding of the grand Somanath Temple in Gujarat. Things were the same. You look at all the major temples that were destroyed. Somnath, Kashi Vishweshwar Temple, Sri Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, Sri Krishna Temple in Mathura. What does that show, and why did the Islamic invaders repeatedly target these temples? It was to cut off the faith of millions of Hindus. It was to send a message to these Hindus that look, all your gods are powerless against the might of Islam. This was the psychological message that these invaders used to send by repeatedly attacking and demolishing these sacred temples. So what do these temples symbolize? In the case of Varanasi and Somnath, Shiva; Ayodhya, Rama; Mathura, Krishna. Shiva, Rama, Krishna.
The most revered deities.
Most revered deities. So this was the thing. So when Somnath Temple was rebuilt in 1950 or 51, during the Prana Pratisthapana, we have to thank Sardar Patel. Any amount of thanks is less. The way he solidly stood behind the whole project and ensured that it was complete. When Somnath was being, the Pran Pratishtha happened with the Somnath Temple, Nehru personally wrote letters to all his ministers, cabinet colleagues, MPs, everybody. He even wrote a letter to President Babu Rajendra Prasad, India's first president, telling him not to attend this superstitious ceremony. His words, not mine. So this family, it is in the family DNA. So why are we surprised that Rahul Gandhi and his great mother, Desh Ki Bahu, they declined to, they not only declined invitation, but they didn't go. And they did, the same template was repeated. They sent out threats to their party members, disbarring them from attending the Pran Pratisthapana. A lot of Congress ministers came on TV, they said, look, humko kahi ka nahi choda types. This kind of statements. Look, all said and done, even we are Hindus, we want to attend. But look at the party they are in.
So at that point in time, given the population of the country, the need to appease, which has been rampant over the last 2 or 3 decades because of the growing population of certain community, would not have been there because it was right after the partition and independence. So it was not just appeasement. There was a deep-rooted anti-Hindu belief system at work. What would call for that?
Like I said in the last episode, right? There was nothing Indian or Hindu about Nehru. Right from his upbringing all the way till his education and his love for communism and worship of dictators and all that. There was nothing Indian or Hindu about him. And his whole worldview was shaped by this Nawabi culture. Who were his close friends? That guy Sheikh Abdullah, that gang Rashid Kidwai, they were part of his close circles. So it is in the family, Parag. So I mean, it's in the DNA. Too bad for
unfortunately,
India.
there's no better. There's no other way to look at it.
There's no other way to look at it. And why should we sugarcoat this when hard evidence is available, which is verifiable?
His own letters to his party men.
His discovery of India.
And even writing to the president.
Discovery of India. He glorifies Mahmud of Ghazni. This is the first Prime Minister of India doing this. So, like I said, it is there that element, that anti-Hindu element is there in the blood of the first family of Congress. So we should be surprised, but we should only be happy that they have shed all their pretenses and come out in the open.
And making it easier for people to decide.
Yeah.
So I think the mask coming off, or like you said, shedding all vestiges of pretenses,
Yes.
In a way is a good outcome that has happened. It's been in the making for a while. That's
So,
fine.
I mean, mask coming off, I remember Vajpayee's memorable quote, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, about Congress. I mean, he summed up the Congress character, basic character of Congress in a very memorable line, pithy line. He said, a Congress in power might be bad, but a Congress out of power is fatal to the nation.
How true and how prophetic and how worrying. I mean, we'll talk about it.
All that is coming out now. We are seeing, what is happening every day.
So again, to do with some of the recent events, but again going back to the Congress, we had the current dispensation, the current elected government announce its choices of Bharata Ratna. Some very, very long overdue nominations saw themselves in the list. And one of them was P.V. Narasimha Rao, who does not belong to the Janasangh or the BJP or for that matter anything to do with the RSS in that sense. So, to the best of what I've seen, I don't think there is anything on record in the public domain where Sonia Gandhi has congratulated P.V. Narasimha Rao getting the award. So, again, how would you see this? Because there are several reforms. In fact, the reforms that happened perhaps are not are wrongly attributed to a few other people, and he had a stellar role to play in it. And yet, when somebody from their stable is getting the highest honor one can get in this country, there is complete silence. Although lip service was paid by some of the minions. How would you explain this in the context of what we're discussing?
Okay, so a very simple formula to understand this. Show me one non-Nehru dynasty Congress leader which this party has celebrated or glorified since independence. One, apart from the Nehru dynasty, show me one leader after independence from Congress stable only, like you said, which the Congress has celebrated. You won't find a single name.
Yeah,
Think about it. Off the cuff. Take your time.
None to any immediate recollection. By one estimate, I think there's a list in the public domain which says about 160 odd public places have been named after the family, the Gandhi Nehru Parivar.
No, I think the number is more. Surya Prakash, very eminent journalist. He was also the chairman of Prasar Bharati. He has compiled a list of all these places, a complete list of all these places and awards and stadiums and street corners and circles, traffic circles, buildings, projects, committees named after this one family. The maximum number of all these things, government sponsored, state run institutions or roads or buildings and awards, maximum lion's share are named in after Rajiv Gandhi.
I think it is only them.
Something to the tune of 600.
Okay, so
not 160.
Not 160.
Yeah.
160.
600 just in the name of Rajiv Gandhi.
Oh, 600 just in the name of Rajiv.
Just in the name of Rajiv Gandhi.
So, we even have in the
schools,
state
airports, Navodaya. Since you brought up Narasimha Rao, I'll come to that. So it was P.V. Narasimha Rao was an extraordinary man in every respect. He was the first and perhaps will be the last scholar prime minister. All of us know he knew,
multiple languages, 16.
16 languages. He was also well versed in Avadhanam. It was a very tough game of poetry. So he was one of the Prichakas, the man of multifaceted achievements and talents. He learned software coding in just 1 month, just by reading books.
And way back then.
And this was when he was out of power. And he had nothing to do basically. Congress had lost power and they were out of the government and he had nothing to do. So he said, okay, why not learn something? He was 60 plus back then. In 1 month he learned software coding. So this is the level of this man. And Narasimha Rao, you said instead of Sonia, why didn't Sonia Gandhi celebrate his legacy and his, honor and things like that? On the contrary, now it is common knowledge until Vinay Sitapati wrote a fantastic biography of Narasimha Rao. The book is called Half Lion. So it shows that after PVN died, I think in 2003 or 2003 or 6 maybe. So after he died, two things happened. His body was brought to the Congress headquarters, 24 Akbar Road in Delhi. And she ensured that it would not enter the compound. 2, he was a former prime minister. All prime ministers deceased prime ministers, they have a grave, a memorial erected in the capital city, Delhi. She prohibited that. And finally, his body was flown down to Hyderabad and given state honor, some kind of a state cremation. And once the cremation was done, nobody in the Congress even bothered. They just left the graveyard just like that, dumped the body, and Sitapati records that it was a wooden cremation, and the body had not fully been burnt, and there was nobody in that ground, and people were witness to dogs, stray dogs, tearing away at his corpse, unburnt portions of his body.
This is tragic. This is tragic.
This is the first family.
This is really tragic.
This is the first family, and you are telling me, you are asking me why Sonia didn't celebrate. This is a point, sir. Congress members, apart from the first family, the position doesn't matter. The high constitutional office doesn't matter. Nothing matters. If you are in Congress, irrespective of your status, high or low, your basic status is that of a slave. A slave and nothing more than that. Nothing more, nothing less than that.
And this hostility towards PVN, as he's popularly called, known as, stemmed from
mainly one reason. After Rajiv Gandhi's assassination, when the next elections happened, there was obviously a lot of lobbying and jostling and all kinds of maneuvers for who would become the next prime minister, because Sonia Gandhi had allegedly expressed her disinterest to continue in politics. But Congress being Congress, they want a Gandhi always at the top. Now, in that time, some of the big names in the Congress that were doing rounds was N.D. Tiwari, Arjun Singh, and Sharad Pawar. Remember, he was in Congress originally.
Absolutely.
All right. So a lot of clashes were happening, backroom dealings, all kind of things were happening, and Sonia saw through all this. Not Sonia, but it is a party of coteries. So someone in her close circles advised her that you don't allow these people, because they are all very ambitious. Once they become, one of these guys becomes prime minister, either they will split the party or they will make you irrelevant. We always want a Gandhi at the helm, rather a Nehru at the helm. People call it the Gandhi dynasty. It is incorrect. It is a Nehru dynasty. So you will lose your relevance and things. This kind of advice was given to Sonia Gandhi, and she sidelined all these people. And once she started surveying who will be the most submissive and the most loyal kind of a person, and then she saw Narasimha Rao. Flashback to his career as a loyalist, as a brilliant man, an accomplished. You give him any ministry, he would turn it around. He would leave a mark. Plus he was non-controversial, both when he was a minister and even otherwise within the party circles. He was non-controversial. He bent his head and did his work, went about his stuff, didn't engage in any kind of intrigue. And the consensus was that he's a harmless guy. He doesn't pose any threat to the first family of the Congress party. And by the way, he had already packed his bags, literally packed his bags from Delhi, and he wanted to become a sannyasi. There is an ashram, a very rather ancient ashram in a place called Kurtalam, and the sannyas peat was, I think, empty. There was no successor. Basically, the succession seat was vacant in that Kurtalam Matham, and he was actually planning to become a sannyasi and occupy that place. And Sitapati writes in his book that his entire shelves and shelves of books were neatly organized into trunks, and the plan was to transport it all the way there to that Peetham. And then he gets a call asking him to become the next Prime Minister of India. He posed no threat. He was a loyalist throughout. So 1991 was when Rajiv Gandhi died. 1991 was when Narasimha Rao became, the next Prime Minister after him. And he was 60 plus then. Long service to the Congress party and its first family. And even before that, Indira Gandhi, to her credit, had identified his talent. She also cut him down to size on several occasions when the climate suited her for whatever other reasons. Only she would know. So she had made him India's education minister. As education minister, Narasimha Rao, he seeded the idea of something called the Navodaya schools, which by the way still provides excellent education. It was just not Navodaya school, it was Jawahar Navodaya school.
Correct. It does produce some of the finest talent even now.
It does, yeah. So it is Jawahar, again Nehru. And then when PVN became the PM, he began, he kept Sonia Gandhi in good humor, but he began to take decisions that she perceived went against, challenged her authority. And then slowly, of course, there's no dearth of congressmen who wanted to topple him, and so they regularly kept poisoning Sonia Gandhi's ear. It was horrible, that with due respect, with enormous respect to what Narasimha Rao achieved, he did not have it easy. His greatest enemies were within the Congress party. So why on earth? And look, Punjab problem Indira Gandhi had created. This man solved. Kashmir problem, he was kind of on the verge of making some serious inroads. Northeast problem, Lal Denga, who remembers him? Terrorist, separatist. He surrendered during Narasimha Rao's regime. Just 5 years, a man with competence, intelligence, ability, experience, scholarship, what he can do in 5 years. There is no better example in any country in modern democracies than PVN. He ran a minority government, by the way.
In spite of that.
Why would, why would anybody in the Congress first family honor him? He in fact stands as the greatest failure for their authoritarianism.
And what a failure, I must say. What a failure, I must say. Being rewarded with a Bharata Ratna. As much as one may attribute political motives, I think the man deserved a Bharata Ratna.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he more than deserves a Bharata Ratna. Not just that. This is a party, Congress party, where 3 former prime ministers awarded Bharata Ratna to themselves.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned this. So, when I went to Port Blair for the first time, the intention was to pay tributes to Veer Savarkar. And what I see and what many see is a huge statue of Rahul Gandhi. Rajiv Gandhi. And when you go and read the plaque, it says inaugurated by Sonia Gandhi. So, and this is right literally opposite in a way to the cellular jail, which is where Savarkar suffered the worst form of incarceration anybody could have and still held his ground. So, it is a travesty, the wife inaugurating the statue of her husband in front of the Savarkar.
A non-Indian wife.
A non-Indian wife. That makes it makes it worse.
Yeah.
Actually, this brings me to the desertion of talent that we started seeing more rapidly over the last few years. Let's look at Jyotiraditya Scindia. The more voice he gets in the current government, one realizes that he always was talented. Look at the stellar job he's doing as the Minister of Civil Aviation. And he puts it beautifully when he's asked, what's the difference between Congress and the BJP? And he says it is meritocracy versus non-meritocracy. That kind of sums up what you've been saying for slavery. Yes, slavery is perhaps the better way to put it. Similarly, Himanta Biswas. look at the way he's got a firm grip on Assam, on infiltration, on signing accords, on transforming education, on improving the security aspect because it is a sensitive border state. So the desertion of talent doesn't indicate that the charisma, the grip or the vice-like grip of the family has waned and with no talent eventually left, which pretty much seems to be the case in the current lot. The decline of Congress is irreversible and terminal. Is that how one would call it or one would see it?
Yeah, this is actually a fantastic question, Parag. Where do we begin? We'll begin again. All roads lead to Nawab Nehru. All right. What did Nawab Nehru do as the first thing when he became unchallengeable within the Congress, within the party and in the government? This happened after Patel's death. Nehru didn't have much of room for his, all mischief making as long as Patel was alive. One of the first things he did was to cut off all good talent within the party and the government. He created conditions so stifling that heavyweights like Rajaji, remember these were all close friends, so that Rajaji was compelled to resign. He put out, he ensured that Ambedkar resigned as law minister. Read his full speech, it is there on Dharma Dispatch. I've reproduced it verbatim.
So hold on, Ambedkar was made to resign?
Yeah, Nehru created conditions so that Ambedkar would quit on his own. Likewise, Rajaji would quit on his own. Likewise, India's second finance minister, John Mathai, he lasted less than 2 years. Not even 2 years, 1 year. And the reason given is the same. They were all polite, cultured men. So they said, look, I would serve the nation's interests better by not being in this position. They were very cultured. But they said, and they also said, nobody understands the mysteries behind the Prime Minister's functioning. So you cut off all talents. So that is step number one. Indira Gandhi had no need to, even show a modicum of decency that Nehru exhibited, at least in his external behavior. And she brazened it out. And the biggest brazening, the mother of all brazening, was splitting the Congress party. So when these jokers, today's jokers in the Congress claim that we brought independence to the Congress brought independence to India, the first question to ask them is which Congress? Is it the Ayodhya Congress? There are 6 or 7 Congresses.
I believe it is mutated more than one can count.
Yeah, exactly. Mutated is the word. So Indira Gandhi, that was a brazen act. You split the party, concentrate all power, and then ensure that a lot of people condemn Jayalalitha for developing a extreme culture of extreme sycophancy by having grown-up men, ministers fall at her feet. She learnt it from Indira Gandhi.
So the inspiration was Indira Gandhi.
After Indira Gandhi split the Congress party and emerged as the supremo, none dare question her. A veteran freedom fighter, 75 plus years old back then, his name was Radha Mohan something. He was deprived of some MP seat from some constituency in Delhi. That man, in full public view, he was a freedom fighter by the way, in full public view, in the Congress party office in Delhi, he prostrated, Sashtanga, Dirghadand, Namaskar kiya, to a lady who was old enough to be his daughter.
And to claim that they represent the
What?
Congress freedom movement, which has nothing to do with the current lot.
So, when you say talent, I'm reminded of all this. What talent is this?
So, you know what is interesting? One, I've always believed that the root cause of insecurity is incompetence.
Yes.
Only an incompetent person will be insecure.
Yes.
So, but the paradox I see in what you have just shared in terms of innates of history is that strangely incompetent people have a talent for spotting the competent, which they clearly seem to have done by eliminating Rajaji, Ambedkar.
So if incompetent people are also cunning, they know what is what. They know real talent, but they don't want to, allow it to flourish because, like you said, insecurity. But they have these other talents. This is the standard tactic of all dictators. One thing, if you study the lives of all dictators, you will see that they are extremely strong-willed, they are ruthless, they don't have what is known as ordinary decencies.
You're putting it politely.
Yeah, ordinary decencies. Plus, what they're also good at is that they have a solid grasp over human psychology, especially mass psychology, which is a must if you have to succeed in public life. The classic case is Julius Caesar. His grip over the crowds was, it was solid. Actually, it was unparalleled. Julius Caesar Shakespeare play, where Caesar puts on an elaborate drama in public, where his senators offer him the crown wreath, 3 times. All 3 times he rejects, and then finally he asks the public, "Look, I'm here to serve you. I don't want this wreath. I don't want to be Caesar," meaning I don't want to be emperor. What do you say? They say, "No, you shall wear the wreath."
So, okay, so now I don't know whether somebody studied history like you have within the Congress party, but when Sonia Gandhi so-called sacrificed to become the Prime Minister of India, that whole dog and pony show that was put up in the Talkota Stadium, am I right? It was the same thing. The renunciation,
yes.
And everyone coming and making a pitch, live telecast, I think, to all of us.
Yes.
There was no OTT, all of that then.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. I'm renunciating, what should you do? And all of them kept pleading, no, you should wear the crown.
You should wear the crown.
So a Caesar.
Some things are timeless, sir. They work. They always work. But it takes that kind of person to make it work. You and I can't even convince 5 people on the streets about anything.
And the talent spotting stemming from insecurity or future damage. Also, in a sense.
No, the insecurity. The insecurity, like you said, arising from incompetence, makes them dictatorial.
Where I was getting to was, I think, well before Modi became what he is now, or for that matter, even before he became the Chief Minister of Gujarat for the first time, I think Amit Patel spotted what this man can do. So that talent to spot competence which can rise and threaten their supremacy in existence, somehow they're blessed. This seemed to have continued till even in Gujarat, when before Modi became the person that he is, so for that matter, even before he became the Chief Minister for the first time, Amit Patel, who is widely considered as the chief strategist and architect and the brain behind all of Congress's nefarious moves, he spotted the talent that Modi has to eventually shake the Congress ecosystem.
Absolutely.
And they went after him. I think perhaps nobody else has faced the kind of persecution he has through every entity possible, every arm of the government possible.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that is the thing, na? These people, for the longest time, including even now, the consensus, both within the domain of politics and commentators, observers, political scientists, was that the Congress has something called a dirty tricks department. That is what engineers all these riots, caste divisions, topples constitutionally elected governments, this is the function of the Congress Department of Dirty Tricks. And Mr. Patel was very much part of it. Alright. In a different era, A.R. Antule was part of it. Sharad Pawar was part of it. So, I mean, they are, I don't know how to put it, veteran guys in a very negative sense, who spot this kind of talent, of gauging potential threats and finding ways to eliminate them as soon as possible. Except that but by the time Ahmed Patel had arrived on the scene, the political landscape in India had, he lived in vastly changed circumstances. He could not do what, for example, people surrounding Indira Gandhi could do and get away with it. So the Congress was, even in 2004, for all its dark record for the next 10 years till 2014, its political power was largely exaggerated. It had to depend on allies. So it could only push the envelope to only such an extent, unlike, say, Indira Gandhi or Rajiv Gandhi did. So, I mean, but yes, so their talent, their knack for spotting talent, it is finely sharpened, and so it should be for anybody who's in the rough and tumble of politics. So that apart, when you talk about talent, I mean it in a pure sense. Talent for nation building, talent for doing something good. All the things that we traditionally associate with goodness, virtue, decency, honesty, integrity in public life, a clean record, this kind of thing. That Congress never had since Nawab Nehru's time. So, like I said, Nehru began that he set the whole precedent for cutting down people to size, and Indira Gandhi split the party and emerged as the dictator, both within the party and the government, and then she declared the emergency. We know the whole story. That thing continued all the way till Sonia Gandhi. Now the few genuinely talented people like Narasimha Rao, for example, right? Such people they quickly realized the lesson that decency and competence alone will not guarantee my survival in this kind of a party. When opportunity arose, people like Narasimha Rao did the right thing. They did good by the country. So it's a very, I don't have words to express the sheer coarsening of public life that this party has inflicted on India. Anyway, destruction of institutions, that not allowing Narasimha Rao's body to enter the head office of the very party he served till the end of his life, and even beyond that.
It is tragic and also shows how ruthless.
Now, someone like Narasimha Rao or even Sharad Pawar, I mean, I have no love lost for any of these guys. But even such people, they were reduced to manage their political life at the point of survival. A wrong move, a wrong step, a wrong glance, a wrong word, a wrong syllable meant that Indira Gandhi would finish their career. So what good can come out of it? So, plus they had, every politician nurtures his or her own constituency, and a lot of people depend on them. So it's not that a Narasimha Rao loses power. He alone doesn't lose power. A minimum of 10,000 people.
Okay, the
their future is gone.
Constituency becomes rudderless.
Plus all the PAs and PSs and his business contacts, his personal ecosystem, which stands on the edifice of his being in office. That is shattered forever.
True.
Now, as long as this kind of situation prevailed in Congress, all thanks again to the first family, they had to shut up, bite their lips and work. Now when you get a guy like Mr. Modi, who not only decimates the Congress but ensures that they'll never come back to power. So these people get confidence. This is the story with the two big names you mentioned, Himanta Biswas Sharma and Jyotiraditya Scindia. So what does it show? The whole of Assam, not just the whole of Assam, the whole of Northeast is with him. Why? Not because he was a congressman. It was because he was Himanta Biswas Sharma.
Absolutely, absolutely. And see, it's a breath of fresh air to have somebody like him unleashed in the right sense.
Exactly.
So the irony of Sharad Pawar, I need to bring this up, is he walked out of the Congress party finally protesting against the foreign origins of Sonia Gandhi, which existed, for obviously years. And ever since then, subsequently allied with the Congress party for being in power in Maharashtra.
Survival, no?
I mean,
On its own, how much
public memory is short-lived, which is the sad part.
Correct. So, NCP has a history of what? Less than 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. But the primary founding, I would call it principle, founding trigger was to resist a foreign origin woman to lead the party.
That was, I think, the pretext that he gave. Nobody can read his mind. He's not made any statements to the contrary. I don't know if he still stands by that. His patriotism and his aversion to Sonia Gandhi because she's a woman of foreign origin. We really have no way of knowing that. But here is the thing, and that brings me back to your question about competence and power, talent, and all that. It has always been about the first family retaining power forever at any cost. All right. So power was the only glue that bound the Congress, that bound loyalties. All the same fellows, who that disgusting scene, you just mentioned it, about asking Sonia Gandhi to become the Prime Minister, right? Where were all these people? When Narasimha Rao was in power, where were all these people? There was an N.D. Tiwari Congress. There was a Brahmananda Reddy Congress. This was after Indira Gandhi was defeated. Brahmananda Reddy expelled Indira Gandhi. Okay. So power is the only glue, that sustains loyalty and things like that. I've written a 3 or 4 part piece on Dharma Dispatch comparing drawing parallels between the Sultanate courtier culture and the courtier culture of the Nawab Nehru dynasty. The parallels are eerie and they are unmistakable.
So this calls for a separate conversation.
It does.
So actually, we've spoken about their innate ability to spot competence-led troublemakers for their existence and weeding them out in the worst possible manner. But even for those who stayed, so-called loyalists in the Congress, there is enough realm in the public domain, which I think you have also spoken about or written about, that within the Congress also the freedom of expression, which they currently spew on a daily basis, that the current government is fascist without really knowing the meaning of the word fascism. But at the same time, not a single person has been arrested for speaking against Modi in the vilest of terms. It happens as we speak on a daily basis. So there was stifling of freedom of expression, or FOE as popularly called, or the acronym is, that continued, that exists and existed within the Congress. Would you like to, shed some light on that, the FOE within Congress itself?
There is no freedom of speech within the Congress. You have to nod at the all-powerful, omniscient, omnipresent High Command. And who does this High Command report to? Again, the first family. So I won't call it a symbiotic relationship. There is a scientific term for it. I forget it. Where the first family sustains these guys as long as they keep behaving as slaves. As long as their servitude is guaranteed. They can pretty much do anything to the Indian people. They can destroy India any which way they like and get away with it. The protection is provided by the first family. And so they do this. It's a fine arrangement actually, mutually beneficial in the worst possible way. So how can you have freedom of speech in such a situation where everybody's, there is no second. Apart from the dynasty in the Congress, there is nothing called second. You get my point?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So you are a Raja and you are a slave. There is nothing like number two.
And although they did manage to create a farce that there were free and fair elections and Mallikarjun Kharge has been appointed, but all conduct in public life when he and the dynasty share stage,
Yes.
it goes back to the same equation. Sandeep, let's move to, I won't call it recent, but the unraveling of the Congress since their complete rout in 2004. 2014, and which continued at the center and a string of states and more than once. So, two instances come to my mind, which perhaps even by the desperate standards of the whatever the Congress is now, are really worrying and shocking to say the least. One is when Rahul Gandhi called for foreign interference in Indian elections. There was a particular phase in time, not too long back in the past, where the desperation actually made somebody like him call for foreign interference in Indian elections. When he does these tours to portray that he's an intelligent person. That to my mind perhaps crossed a red line which hadn't been crossed in Indian polity till then, at least coming from the highest echelons of Congress, in this case the first family. And if I go to the second instance, where now there is, if in the last 48 hours, there has been, flurry of utterances during his yatra, contrived yatra, where he's called out the name of a journalist, asked his name, and then instigated the crowd against him. And similarly, he's spoken about the composition of the devotees who were there at Pran Pratishtha. So, even by the desperate standards that we've seen unraveling from 2014, the last few instances are worrying. It appears that there is no red line that the first family is not willing to cross in their desperation to, while they are unlikely to get power, what baffles is what is the end objective? Is it just to keep the atmosphere vitiated and keep trouble brewing for the current dispensation, or it is, as is popularly said, as a scorched earth policy? What is driving this? The recent accelerated unraveling of the Congress party.
So you asked me 8 questions so far.
Okay. So let's break it down.
Okay, let's break it down in no particular order. Now, imagine someone like Rahul Gandhi in a mature democracy, which, by the way, democracies all over the world, Western world, are collapsing. So that we can see, otherwise, a guy like Biden would have never made it to the Oval Office. That apart, imagine a sane, functional, thriving, mature democracy. How long do you think someone like Rahul Gandhi would have lasted? How long do you think someone like Rahul Gandhi would have lasted even after 2 phenomenal batterings into general elections? There is no accountability out here. Which brings us to the question, what explains the endurance of the Nehru dynasty? Forget their electoral prospects, their losses and their irrelevance in the public mind. What explains their endurance rather? Answer again leads back, all roads lead back to
Nawab Nehru.
When he was, Nawab Nehru had cultivated some extraordinary networks across, I wouldn't say across the globe, but across Europe at least. During the days of the freedom struggle, even before that, when he was a student of Harold Lasky in England. So he had cultivated some long-term networks which are coming in handy. Few people.
You're saying they're coming in handy now?
Yeah. I'll come to that. Few people, I'll just give you a random data point. Few people might know that Penguin Publishing House, it has a lifetime contract to keep publishing Jawaharlal Nehru's works. Discovery of India, Glimpses of World History, and the royalties keep accumulating. They go to the first family. So these are the kinds of networks that he had cultivated. This Penguin network is, it goes more than a century.
Impressive in a worrying way, though.
All right. One. Now, after him, let's cut to Indira Gandhi. Who were her closest friends? Margaret Thatcher, Mountbattens, then some George somebody. Once upon a time, he was the opposition leader in the British Parliament. Barbara Cartland, she wrote some trashy romance novels.
Yes.
And then Dorothy Norman. She was the heiress of the company that built the Sears Tower in Chicago. These were her closest friends, right? After Indira Gandhi lost elections, after the emergency, she went on a whirlwind tour to London. There, the entire British political establishment stood by her, including the then Prime Minister. I don't know if Thatcher was there. I mean, Indira Gandhi went there in 1978, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 78 or 79. So the entire British political establishment arranged a series of public appearances and speeches across the country, where she basically justified her emergency. And she was given plenty of opportunities to rehabilitate her political career back at home.
So, see with this, I think this is perhaps to me and to many listening and many who otherwise track the trajectory of Indian politics, I think this is an absolutely stunning revelation of the cultivation of networks starting with Nehru to Indira Gandhi. And none of them seem to be Bharatiya or Indian, as we would like to call them.
Okay, now come again to Rajiv Gandhi, that infamous jaunt that he took, that vacation he took on INS Vikrant, India's premier naval warship.
Absolutely.
In Andaman and Lakshadweep, the same Lakshadweep.
Yeah.
All right. Who were, all his friends, buddies? Italians, Sonia Gandhi's relatives, Americans, arms dealers. This is widely reported in a long form in India today, back then.
And that seems to continue with...
These are the networks they have cultivated.
And that seems to continue with Rahul Gandhi frequently.
Exactly my point. So, the global forces, they back this dynasty for a reason. This dynasty is their best bet as far as their Indian operations are concerned. This is not a conspiracy theory. Lot of books and reports available in the public domain, you can verify these things. I don't need to make these up.
So like Biden is widely suspected to be a regent planted by the deep state within the United States. This dynasty, then going by all the facts that you've tabled, is a regent at the used to play at the behest of forces outside of India.
There is no doubt about it.
While they get elected. So this family provided stability for, by being in power for so long, they provided stability for various nefarious things that these global forces... the continuity of nefariousness could have
continued forever. Now the amount of Christian conversions that have happened in India have happened after 1947 than the 350-400 years when Christianity actually began to make inroads into India.
This would be a good data point to bring out in the public domain. The pace of acceleration post-independence versus the 4 centuries before that.
Yeah. So why? what explains this?
So multiple forces have been at work.
Yes, sir. Yes.
To change.
And this dynasty has been, providing them cover fire in exchange for, remaining in power for perpetuity. Now, there's a wonderful book called the Morarji Papers or the Morarji Years. Unfortunately, it is not widely in circulation and not widely known enough as widely as it should be known. So there, in official letters and telegrams have been reproduced verbatim. One of the points is that we can do a series based just on that book.
On Morarji Papers.
Morarji Papers. So one of the things is that, one of the common themes in the Morarji Papers is how the highest echelons of power in Soviet Russia were happy and confident in Indira Gandhi's prime ministership. They were rattled that a non-Congress, a non-Indira formation came to power when the first Janata government, Morarji Desai became prime minister. So it boils down to the same thing, Parag, again. This one family, in their quest for unlimited and everlasting power, acted as that this family, this dynasty, by being in power, acted as a enabler of all these forces.
I would call them regents. They're absolutely planted regents.
Yes.
This is really, really revealing and shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest analogy I can draw is to Biden right now in the current context.
Yes.
But regents have been planted. Manmohan Singh was a defined regent planted by the first family, but that is within their ecosystem.
Even there, look, this is a point, right? They gambled on Narasimha Rao and he turned out, something else. He turned into a monster that nobody had suspected. Not so with Manmohan Singh.
Monster with a brain and spine, basically.
Yeah. Not so with Manmohan Singh.
So, Sandeep, what I think
now, since I have to address your question. Now, given all this, why are you surprised that Rahul Gandhi is acting, is speaking the language of separatists? This is a man, remember again, this is a man who is still confident that one day he will become the Prime Minister of India. Don't be under any illusion. He might appear stupid or, whatever he might. Of course, he's not bright at all. But since when has an honest recognition of your own stupidity prevented your ambition?
True, and I think we've all seen that in walks of life outside the political world also.
Yeah.
So that brings me to a thread I read, I don't know when, where somebody had put out an interesting approach where saying the whole approach of these forces, nexus of forces, is to change the demography of constituency after constituency across India. First where there are soft targets and then in states where they don't have inroads. And eventually the maths is what matters. It doesn't matter what good work you do.
Yes.
So there is a 30% which will invariably not vote for the BJP. Then if you bring in people from outside and change the demography of the constitution, outside as in many ways, and there is time on the side of Rahul Gandhi, age in terms of politics is on his side. So in 20 years, if they are able to change the demography constituency by constituency, and they are able to swing a certain number of constituencies, the game changes. So this is, while most people are working hard and praying for Modi to win the coming election, there are these forces at work have thought much ahead. And I figured out ways to stall this or unravel the dispensation that has been at the helm with these methods. I don't know how successful they will be, but it sounded pretty plausible with the data points I would remember now.
Correct. It might be plausible, but it's not as easy as it sounds in theory. It's not. One thing is that anti-Hindu forces or non-BJP forces, their political relevance has been declined.
So the ability to influence is high.
India. So you need a money and some amount of influence and relevance to be able to actually participate in elections and win. The cost of elections have gone up astronomically. So in theory it might sound simple, even plausible like you said, but in practice it remains to be seen. Nobody is ruling it out, and this strategy is nothing new.
So this
in the late 80s or early 90s, a former Muslim MP, what he did was he took out an electoral map of India, like you said, constituency by constituency, and he gave a plan, an actual electoral plan, so that the Indian Parliament would have a minimum of 180 Muslim MPs. Imagine what that
is. That so? Yeah.
Yes. Imagine what. So he did that by identifying precisely what you said. Constituencies where Muslims are, they dominate, and somehow you do an en masse voting so that there are 180 Muslim only MPs in the Parliament. What?
And that changes the entire.
That changes everything.
So we have OIC on record. I think in one of his rallies, I don't remember when, saying if he had more MPs, we could have vetoed the person behind the parliament attack. What was his name? I forget.
One of those Congress chamchas only, foot soldiers. Yeah.
No, the person who was caught in the parliament attacks.
Oh, the Vajpayee time ka parliament.
Yeah.
Okay, not the recent one.
Yeah, so I mean precisely the same thing.
Yeah.
That even if somebody attacks the parliament, they can get away with it if they had enough people inside the parliament.
He didn't get away with it, all right. Correct. Good point. He didn't get away. Afzal Guru didn't get away.
Afzal Guru.
He didn't get away. This fellow Kasab didn't get away. What about all those unknown people, terrorists, who got away? About secret midnight transfers that nobody knows. This when they don't have power.
So good you mentioned this. So you spoke about the enduring ability of the Nehru clan.
Yeah.
So this is a question that your insights would be much needed. So for a party which has been reduced to 44 or 52 depending on the election you look at the center, and also marginalized in most states, or they are playing second fiddle or third fiddle to other parties in states where they are present, barring some of the recent one or two states where they won a full majority. What gives? Where is the disproportionate ability to foment trouble? It's a series of multiple attacks. You can almost predict it.
Yeah.
That the farmer protest is one. Before that, there was a caste census which somehow did not yield the kind of damage they expected to be. But he's back at it again.
Yeah.
So these are. It's like a pack of wild dogs trying to bring down an elephant. I was saying it's like a pack of wild dogs carrying out incessant attacks from multiple angles, multiple quarters at different periods in time to bring down a giant prey. In this case, somebody who's completely marginalized and has posed an existential crisis to them. So this endurance, the right word that you brought up, if they're 44 or 52 and they're able to inflict so much damage, of course ably aided by forces, the media, all of that, how does this disproportionate ability diminish over time? I mean, honestly, the question on top of most minds.
How does it diminish over time?
Yeah, one would like it to diminish, but how do they sustain it? Where do they get it from?
So the point is, excellent question, by the way. For the longest time, once again, all roads lead to
Nawab Nehru.
Okay. So
I must visit Anand Bhavan now.
When he was at the peak of his power, apart from Russia, I mean, he was a Soviet addict, but that apart, the only people he feared criticism from within India was the communists. I mean, there is very little record except toppling EMS Namudiripal's government. Nehru always had a soft corner for the communists, one, and he was petrified of their criticism. And each time, they criticized, he would give in. Innumerable instances. You can read Sitaram Goel's entire corpus of work for all these examples. So from Nehru's time till even now, the Congress and the left have had an incestuous relationship. For Congress, there is no ideology except power. For the communists, there is an ideology which was to transform India into a communist paradise. This people know. Indira Gandhi packed her whole, significant sections of her government with communists. Her closest circle of advisors, P.N. Huxar, all these fellows, right? He was second most powerful man in the country.
Legendary almost.
He took orders from where? Kremlin. They have gotten away with a lot.
I mean,
they've gotten away with a lot.
A series of regents that have been running the country.
So what the sum and substance, to answer your question in a very, very brief way, what happened as a result of all this is that the communists are very good at inflicting precisely what you said. Short-term damage, but occurring at a frequent interval, at a timing of their own choosing. Now, I mean, the 60s, 70s, 80s, till the late 80s, the amount of violence against the Indian state that the communists have done is enormous. The same forces have mutated, they have taken different names and they come in different disguises now. They are standing in solidarity with this man, Mr. Rahul Gandhi. So they bring in all the manpower. You won't see too many Congress Karyakartas in these so-called formalizations.
There is no Karyakarta, there is no ideology.
Got it. So these are hired groups by all kinds of outfits, including some funded by directly and indirectly by foreign agencies. So the communists have this network with them.
And communists have been out of power for the longest time, and yet
they don't need to be. That is a point.
Exactly, that's a skill they have.
When they can't win elections in a legitimate way, what they do is they try to capture political power by capturing democratic institutions, which is exactly what is happening.
So again, I think we found the third potential conversation for the future. I think the infestation of institutions, particularly the academic institutions, some of them are obvious now, and hopefully they're getting exposed and changed. But what I've been seeing as a pattern is some of the prominent law schools and some of these alternate universities that have come up. You look at OP Jindal, the student part. So I think let's do a separate conversation on the ability of communists to continue to infiltrate institutions, even the newer ones.
Yes.
When every other force is not really looking that way, because eventually they will be in positions of power or in positions of influence. So we'll park that for now. So the endurance comes, you're saying, essentially from
obviously his foreign networks, and B from his not ideological allies, but the communist networks, far left networks. But in the specific case of Rahul Gandhi, by 2018, he has completely surrendered to the far left forces operating globally. So he is now more or less a puppet in the hands of the global far left. This is a very significant change, that had not occurred even when Sonia Gandhi was at the height of her power during UPA 1 and 2. This is a very, very significant change which has not been studied.
He's setting new standards.
Yeah, he's setting new standards. See, there is a huge celebratory photo of Rahul Gandhi posing with an open Naxal terrorist named Gadar from Andhra.
Yeah, I remember now. Yes.
Yeah. So remember that photo.
So there are no red lines on.
No, there are no red lines. I mean, you said scorched earth policy. Thankfully, he doesn't have that kind of resources of power to really scorch the earth and ride his way to power on those flames. So that is difficult, but the short-term damage and the short-term cost will be enormous, as we are witnessing.
So again. Like you mentioned, you're not a clairvoyant, but I'm tempted to ask this
again
to kind of wrap up this conversation, because it's been fascinating, worrying, shocking and revealing, which is usually the case in most conversations with you. How do you see this post the upcoming elections? Will the endurance find breaks, or will it herald the reversal of this endurance of their ability to inflict damage with their nexus of forces both outside and within India, the commies that you mentioned? Or like some people say, there are vipers hissing in the sand, and they will wait for their time at some point in history in the future, and again strike back at the empire. Sorry to use this kind of language, but
no, it's hard to say, Parag. I mean, in the last episode, I kind of mentioned it, and I don't mind repeating it. If Modi comes back to power, which he will, with an even bigger majority. Remember, there used to be a time where the numbers, the potential to form a government, depended on allies. Now the minimum benchmark is 282. The enormity of this transformation people don't understand.
Well said.
So it is not if Modi will come back, it is will he come back with a
bigger mandate,
or will he stay within, or will it be something like 300 or 310? So these are the numbers you're talking about, and that's very, very significant, both in the short term and the long term. Third term for Modi. What can happen to people especially people like Rahul Gandhi, since he's been projected as the only credible, viable and powerful opposition to Modi in that script. People can't fund him endlessly.
And I'm tempted to borrow a line of yours, which I'm sure you'll state now.
Go ahead.
So what it means is, after the endlessly part, there will be demands on ROI.
Yes, there will be demands.
And post the upcoming elections, the demands on ROI will become difficult to fulfill.
Yeah, they have nothing to show basically. Look at even non-Congress formations. Look, 52 seats. Okay, last time it was 44. So Uttar Pradesh has the maximum number of Lok Sabha seats, 80. So his national tally, Congress party's national tally, is less than the total Lok Sabha tally for one state.
The marginalization wouldn't have been more.
Look, so who will fund him forever? At the moment, I think, this is my conjecture, what the top rung of the Congress party is doing is they're trying to safeguard their family jewels.
So it goes back to what I try to anticipate or suggest. So the family jewels are protected. They lie low, say, I'm just saying for 3 decades, as an example.
3 decades, he'll be 81.
Yeah, so the forces.
He doesn't have children.
Yeah, good point. So it is actually the coming 10 years are decisive. In that sense. To unravel even the nexus of forces outside. Or to utilize them.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Coming 10 years are.
And the popular opinion among many like me on Twitter is, I think we need unknown men at multiple places now.
Yeah, we do.
Beyond Pakistan.
We do. Indeed.
I think that's perhaps the most low-cost solution our security establishment has come up with.
Instead of navigating through other channels.
These tactics keep evolving, and I think it is in the fitness.
Yeah, but it is again a significant shift. This has never happened in Indian history. Post-independence. So, Sandeep, with this, let's conclude this absolutely revealing, fascinating, I'm repeating myself, but I can't help saying it, and shocking insights on the nexus of forces within driving the Congress since, and the fountainhead being Nawab Nehru, as you have, I don't think I can call him Nehru alone anymore.
Yeah.
And also the nexus of forces at play, and more importantly, the demand on ROI will become untenable post the upcoming elections. So hopefully we'll see reduction of this enduring ability to inflict damage on India and therefore Indians, and that would be a good sign for the future, and those times would be better than what they've been so far.
Hope we live in those times.
Yeah. So I'll conclude on this note. I think we need a separate detailed conversation on perhaps the darkest period of Indian political history, the emergency. We will speak about the containing ability of the commies to have the vision and foresight to seize institutions, and it continues even today. And at some point with research we can speak about the nexus of forces outside of India and bring them to light. So with that, Sandeep, thank you so much for your time and bringing all your vast reservoir of knowledge to the fore through this conversation, which all those watching, I'm sure, would savor, digest, and learn, most importantly, and pass it on, hopefully. So, thank you for those of you watching here, all of those who have liked this and would like more such insights to come from Sandeep. This will be a weekly series that we have started. So, please like, share, and subscribe to the Dharma Dispatch channel, where you will find all such nuggets available whenever you wish to go back to them. Thank you, everyone.